Zoho is rolling out major enhancements to Zoho CRM's Kanban view, which allows you to save Kanban views, collapse columns, and even add records from a Kanban view. Zoho's resource utilization has upgraded to Workload Report, which includes a dynamic timeline view and task grouping, which allows you to better view and manage your team's workload over time. Zoho Sign's integration with ChatGPT automatically detects spaces in a document and automatically generates fields for you so you don't have to do it yourself. Now in this video, we'll be covering all of this and more of Zoho's newsworthy announcements. I will admit this is my favorite of the various announcements for today, which is the enhancements of Zoho CRM's Kanban view. You can see here as I hover over the different columns within the Kanban view, if I hover below, I'm able to see this create lead button and this button here, which if I click, I can collapse the different columns. Now, this is really helpful when there are certain parts of the process that I don't think deserve the valuable real estate. I mean, the whole idea of a Kanban view is that you can not just only view the information in your CRM, but that you can view information in relation to your processes. That way you can better manage the marketing and sales processes in your organization. So what I really like about this is, for example, in these set of statuses that I use to manage leads, I don't really think recycled, not qualified, and rejected junk necessarily deserve the same level of real estate in this view as reached the leads that I'm working, my sales ready leads. I don't think they are all equal. So I want to collapse the ones that aren't as critical. And I want to make sure that I can see all of the pertinent stages within one view and I don't have to scroll over. So I absolutely love this update. I'm a huge Kanban view fan. It's like a crazy obsession. I make all my clients switch over to it and make sure that everything's organized from left to right. All right, next thing here, you can also create the record right from this section. You don't have to go up to this, to the quick add and click create lead, and you don't even have to go to this blue button anymore. As you are hovering over the column, you can go ahead and click on this. And what is the advantage here? Well, it's small, but I think it's pretty powerful. When you click on create lead in a certain part of the Kanban view, you can see here, for example, we have working sales engaged. If I go to create lead, then it's going to bring me here to, it's going to automatically populate lead status for me. So I don't have to do that myself, which is helpful. So those are the major advantages that you have is you can create a record right from the view, you can collapse columns. And finally, which is the most powerful of the various features or enhancements to the Zoho CRM Kanban view, is we can now go up here and I can manage different Kanban views. This is huge because previously we were not able to do this. What we had to do is there was a cogwheel, and some of you might still have this, and you clicked on that cogwheel and you got one option. Here, you clicked on a cogwheel here, and there was only one option to change the different Kanban views. Now you can go over here and manage multiple Kanban views. That way, if you have multiple processes that you're managing in one module, you can actually create Kanban views for those various processes. So the nice thing about this too, in the Kanban view list view, here you can manage the various Kanban views that you have and you can go to edit them. And this should look familiar. If you have that cogwheel, then you can jump over here and you can manage the different statuses for that particular Kanban view. So 3 major changes here. Number 1, you have the Kanban view manager where you can add multiple Kanban views and make changes to them over time. This also allows you to switch between them. The other major enhancement is you can create a record right from this section beneath the column in the Kanban view. And then finally, you can collapse different columns, which is very helpful. So I love all of these features. It's something I'm going to be using day to day, and I highly recommend when it's rolled out to your instance of Zoho, you take advantage of these features and you use the Kanban view. All right, let's jump over to a Zoho projects update that we have here for resource utilization. And resource utilization is now called Workload Report. So what I like about this is, first and foremost, I don't love using the term resource when I'm talking about people. I know it's a common thing, but it just feels a little dehumanizing, and that's not really the big update not just the name change from resource utilization over to workload report. It's just a nice little verbiage change that doesn't sound like you're moving around pieces on a chessboard. You're actually working with people and seeing their workload. Okay, enough of that. Task grouping evolution. So whereas previously, if you went to resource utilization, there wasn't this section to break down by task owner, associated users, profiles, and roles. You weren't able to do that. Now you can. So it just makes it easier for you to manage teams' workloads over time with these views because you're not just limited to viewing by task owner when you're looking at workload. So if you're not familiar with this report to begin with, essentially what it's doing, what Zoho Projects is doing for you, is it's looking at all of the different users that are assigned tasks, and it's divvying out hours to your users based on the days that they're scheduled to work, based on the start and due date of the tasks that they're assigned. So essentially, you're just seeing rows for different users, and then these columns and cells represent different days with how many hours they have allocated to their work. That way you can tell if they're overloaded. So it shows you here, this is how many hours that they have left to be assigned. So he has 8 hours. She might have 3 hours left. Just gives you an idea of who's overloaded and who's not. Okay, diverse task expansion style. So tailor your task viewing experience by expanding and exploring tasks in different styles. So you have this task expanded view style, whereas Gantt and timeline. If you want to use a traditional Gantt chart view, the advantage you have in workload report in viewing a Gantt style is you can see not just the tasks and how long they span, but you can see the tasks in relation to the person and then how much of their time is being allocated to the task. So that's the idea there. You can view it in a more robust way within Zoho projects. Okay, the nice thing here too is dynamic timeline view. So again, the major advantage you have here is you can just see the time that's allocated, but it's essentially a Gantt chart. It just shows you the tasks broken down by the time allocated for a particular user. So this is just a more user-friendly set of enhancements that are being made to Zoho projects. We love them. Those are all great. Text summarization. This one is for Zoho Sign. So if you are filling out lengthy documents inside of Zoho Sign, let's say they're hundreds of pages, you've got a new solution that you will absolutely love. This is with Zia. And if you don't know, Zia is Zoho's AI, but it's essentially becoming a white label service for ChatGPT with all the integrations that they're making with ChatGPT. And with this integration with OpenAI, now long documents, you can have them summarized so without missing important details. I find that difficult to believe if it's hundreds of pages, but essentially before you dive in, and if you're going to sign anything, you definitely want to read through it all together, but it's nice initially to get that summarization from AI, and then you can dive into the details from there. So the really cool thing about this is Zia detects spaces in a document and automatically generates fields. So let's say you had even a 10-page document and you had to go through and assign Zoho Sign fields to various parts of the document. Now, Zoho Sign's integration with ChatGPT will automatically detect where those should be and populate it for you. And then you can just check over AI and make sure that it did it right. So you just play quality assurance and let AI do the heavy lifting, which is a great use case for AI. I wish Zoho gave us some details on how this would actually work. This is pretty interesting stuff. Okay, Zoho Desk ASAP announcement. This is not as soon as possible. This stands for app support across platforms. Here's the idea of this update. Inside of Zoho Desk, you can create what's called a help center. And for the help center, you can create what's called a microsite. So a help center is you're doing customer service all day and you are saving solutions in the form of articles. So if you're saying the same thing over and over again as a customer support rep, you start to create this knowledge base of articles. That way, other agents inside of your organization can take advantage of the answers you give in a more sophisticated way. That's what an article is. Now, those articles roll up to the help center. So the help center is both for your agents, but you can also display your help center with all those knowledge base articles to your customers. That way they can go onto your website and they can see all the different articles that you've produced over time. That's a more proactive way to do customer support as opposed to just waiting for someone to send you a ticket. So that's the idea of Help Center. Okay, now that we understand Help Center, we can understand this app support across platforms update. So Zoho is providing a software development kit, that's what SDK stands for, where you can, in your mobile application that you've created, you can add a section for Help Center. So whereas previously, for most applications that are using Zoho Desk, you would have to click on visit our Help Center and it would take you off the application onto the website. Now you can have that inside the application. You can have, essentially it's the microsite for your mobile application. So you don't have to move over to the microsite. You can stay in the mobile application and have access to everything that knowledge base does. So here's some key highlights. Home screen customization, greet your customers with a warm welcome. Multi-layout, ticket property screen, essentially everything you're having in the microsite, you can have inside of the application. So you'll definitely want to look more into this if you have a mobile application and you're wanting to integrate Zoho Desk Help Center functionality right into the application so people don't have to hop off. Maybe that's worth it to you. Maybe it's not. The idea is to be proactive with customer service. That way you don't overburden your agents with all the requests coming in. Okay, add marketplace extensions during Blueprint transitions. This is another Zoho Desk one. So if you're a big Blueprint fan, awesome. I am not. I just think Blueprints 99% of the time are overly restrictive and they're built with good intention. But before we go to Blueprints, I want to share one thing. So Blueprints generally have there's two types of Blueprints, ways of thinking of a blueprint. You have like A to B, C to D, which is we're going to put a specific blueprint to solve this problem and this problem. And then there's people, which at 99% of the time, my clients that I train, they do this. They do an A to Z blueprint. They're like, I'm going to do everything in a blueprint. I don't suggest that because that's overly restrictive for your users. It's over engineering. And you as an administrator have just added so much burden in constantly updating that because operations are always changing and blueprints are very strict and brittle. So usually they snap. So just keep that in mind. Most people abandon a lot of the blueprints that I see designed, but sometimes when you do very laser focused blueprints like an A to B, C to D type blueprint, then those work pretty well. Okay, so enough of that context. Let's jump into the update. So in Zoho Desk, you can use blueprints. And the idea here is whereas previously you could only use functionality in the blueprint that was inside of Zoho Desk, you can now reach out of Zoho Desk functionality into extensions and you can trigger extension functionality, which is really, really helpful. You can see Zoho Sprints, Zoho Calendar. One of the examples is, hey, if you want to integrate with Zoho Calendar, you can simply create an event right through the blueprint as you are using the blueprint inside of a ticket inside of Zoho Desk. So that's pretty cool. It shows another example for Zoho Sprints, but you get the idea. You're able to use other applications functionality within Zoho Desk inside of a blueprint, which is great. Product update. Okay, so changes in Zoho Analytics integration with X, formerly Twitter. So the issue is Twitter just moved or X, formerly Twitter, just moved their API from version 1 to version 2. So what does that mean for you? Well, you're going to get less tweets per handle if you are collecting that information. So the number of tweets fetched per handle and all timeline modules will be reduced to 500 tweets. Changes will be applied to the timeline modules as follows: X Analytics, profile timeline, home timeline, and mentions timeline, competitive analytics tweets. So there's some changes on what information is going to be able to come over based on the new changes to the API. API, if you're not aware, just stands for Application Programming Interface, and it allows two apps to talk to each other. It's just a set of URLs essentially called endpoints where you're able to reach in and grab certain data. So the reason I'm talking about that is Zoho Analytics is a BI tool, allows you to fetch information from other applications. So when other applications change their API, Zoho has to change the way they're grabbing information. So that's why you're seeing some changes here. Data synchronization, schedule changes going forward. Only the daily schedule option will be available for both X Analytics and X Competitive Analytics integration. Okay. All existing hourly schedules will be automatically migrated to daily schedules. Yeah, that's not fun. That's the only drawback I really see with Zoho Analytics as a whole is Zoho Analytics isn't able to do real-time updates, which is actually asking for a lot when you use a BI tool, because if you want real-time analysis for different changes and updates that are happening across data, that's really API intensive. So it makes sense that they're doing it on a 3-hour schedule, but it really isn't fun that they're moving this back, not even from hourly, now it's on a daily schedule. So that's not great, but that is what's happening. And those are the changes to Zoho Analytics. So those of you who should be worried or concerned with this are those of you who are using a X, formerly Twitter integration with Zoho Analytics. Okay, introducing customizable form links in Bigin. All right, so if you're a Bigin user, which I'm not, but I understand why. I'm not a huge fan of what Bigin offers as far as like a simplified CRM, because I think you should just go with the real thing and not limit yourself to a system that doesn't have as many capabilities, because you're just going to run into the limits over time and you'll end up in Zoho CRM anyways. So with that being said, Bigin allows you to send form links. So if you create a form, you can distribute that form to other people to fill it out via a link. So you got Bigin.Zoho, web form services. This is how it used to be structured. Now it's going to say your data center, Bigin.online, and then your org access URL. So it'll look something like zilkerhomes.com or US Bigin.online. So US, that's the data center that you're in, Bigin.online, Zilker Homes. So that's what it's going to say now. Now you also have the option on top of that to customize your own domain. So you can throw in your own domain here, sales.example.ltd, whatever your domain you want to map. And then you can say it's your domain, right? It says Zilker Homes, pretend yourdomain.com. And that just looks way more professional than having Bigin.something there. You can just throw it on yours, which I think is really helpful. So make sure to brand your URLs. That just makes more sense and it looks so much more professional. Here's a very small update from Zoho Bigin. This pipeline panel, you can make dark. Well, it was dark. Now you can change it to light themed. So just be aware of that. Okay, feature update, flag session recordings. Okay, this is for Zoho PageSense. So if you're not familiar with Zoho PageSense as an application of Zoho, it's essentially something like Hotjar, which is a really popular one. There's a couple other applications that do the same thing. It's a marketing application to see what visitors are doing on your site. So it essentially presents a heat map and it gives you information for the sessions, the visitor sessions, website visitor sessions on your website, for what they're actually doing on the website. So what's cool is you can flag different sessions, and there is caps on how long Zoho PageSense will retain the information for a certain session visit. So flagged recordings will be available as per retention period of your plan. So for analyzing engaged plan users, retention is 6 months. While for optimized plans, the retention will be 1 year. So if you flag it, 6 months. If you're analyzed, 1 year if you're on the engaged plan. Unflagged recordings will be auto-deleted after 3 months. You will have 2 months to flag and segregate your recordings before the new retention period policy of session recordings goes into effect. So essentially, the reason why you'd want to flag and save it for more time is if you were using that as a point for a case that you're making to change things. So this is all about conversion rate optimization. Essentially, what you do with a tool like PageSense is you're making a case for why you should make changes to the site. So a button at the top right isn't being clicked. Maybe you want to change it to red. So that way it stands out more. So use PageSense to say, hey, see this heat map, how everyone isn't clicking our call to action. This is another point I'm making in our case to make changes so that we can get a higher conversion rate on this page for our desired call to action. So that's what PageSense is all about. And this change is nice in that you can retain flagged session recordings for longer than you were able to previously. All right, those are all the newsworthy announcements for Zoho. Now, if you are looking for more advanced training, I have quite a bit of training here on my YouTube channel, but you can also check out Z Training. It's free. It will take you from a standard user or a beginner to a power user of Zoho, not just for yourself, for your entire team. So go ahead and click on the link below for Z Training. Again, it's all free, nothing trying. I'm not trying to sell you anything here. You can go on there, check it out, fill out your email. We'll send you a link, and then you can get started with Z Training for free.